Coming up on Bloom, we're boosting your brain power. Psychiatrist and brain disorder specialist Dr. Daniel Amen joins us with why we need to pay more attention to our brain health.
Your brain is an organ, just like your heart is an organ. And if you want to have a better mood, you actually have to take care of your brain.
And we'll explore how sleep impacts your brain health. Plus, we're cooking up healthy brain foods in the Bloom kitchen. All that and more as Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, starts now. I'm Gayle Guyardo. Welcome to Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, a full hour dedicated to your health and wellness. So get ready to bloom. Today we're exploring your brain health, and we begin with a doctor who is a leader in his field, specializing in applying brain science technology to the treatment of mental health. Dr. Daniel Amen is a TikTok sensation who's gone viral many times because he challenges what he believes is misinformation. For example, Dr. Amen debunks studies saying that red wine is good for you.
Red wine. A lot of people say, well, the studies say it's good for you. Yeah, but look at their brain. Even small amounts of alcohol are associated with white matter damage in the brain. So those are the brain highways, and any alcohol is associated with an increased risk of 7 different kinds of cancer. I'm not a fan.
Joining us now is 5-time New York Times bestselling author, psychiatrist, brain disorder specialist, and the director of the Amen Clinics, Dr. Daniel G. Amen. Dr. Amen, welcome to Bloom.
Thank you so much. Thank you for helping me spread the word of brain health.
Well, a lot of folks follow you. I personally watch all your videos. I follow you on TikTok, Instagram, you name it. And you say every day we're making our brains a bit better or a bit worse?
So over the last 32 years, I've been looking at the brain with a study called brain SPECT imaging. It looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how the brain works. And it's just stunning. The habits we do every day are making your brain younger, or they're making your brain older. So you can accelerate aging, or you can decelerate aging. How exciting is that, to know that you have daily control over the health of your brain?
And part of that is, you say that we're living in a society of undisciplined minds, and you believe training your brain can start with something simple, how we begin our days and how we end them.
Well, I love that so much. I start every day with, today is going to be a great day. And that way I'm training my mind to look for what I'm excited about rather than what I'm afraid of. And I end every day with what went well today. In fact, for me, it's turned into a treasure hunt. When I go to bed at night, I say a prayer, and then I go, okay, what went well today? And I start at the beginning of my day and just go hour by hour, looking for even the micro moments of happiness that I had that day. And like you, I'm busy. And so cool things will happen, and I just don't pay enough attention to them. But that's how I put myself to sleep every night.
As a leader in your field, Dr. Amen, what are you seeing in our culture and your research that suggests that we need to pay more attention to our brain health?
Well, I'm a psychiatrist by training. I'm a general psychiatrist and a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and I got no brain health training in my residency program. In fact, psychiatry is the only medical specialty that never looks at the organ it treats. So think about that. When I started looking, I'm like, oh my goodness, your brain is an organ, just like your heart is an organ. And if you want to have a better mood, if you want to be less anxious, if you want to be able to focus and remember things, you actually have to take care of the physical functioning of your brain. And this this is what I'm trying to do with TikTok and Instagram, and all of our work is to create a revolution. In the book, I talk a lot about the end of mental illness. The end, and people go, whoa, how are you going to do that? The end of mental illness begins with a revolution in brain health.
And it's so long overdue, Dr. Amen. I mean, I think about it. Sadly, I lost both of my parents to cancer, and helping them navigate their health and their life towards the end, it seems like there was a roadmap in doing that. There's an infrastructure well in place. But when it comes to our brain health, I think a lot of Americans are confused as to what to do. So you're using social media as a platform to get the education out there that people need to hear.
Yes, because there's nowhere in school where they teach you how to have a better brain. I was at a big education conference last year, and one of the people in California who's responsible for curriculum, I'm like, how many brain health courses do you have? And she looked down and said, none. And that's insane, because your brain controls everything you do, how you think, how you feel, how you act, how you get along with other people. Starting in preschool, we should be teaching kids to love and care for their brains.
And you have a new book coming out called Change Your Brain Every Day. What prompted you to write this book?
Brain and mental health are daily practices. So this is 366 short essays on the most important thing I've ever said over the last 40 years as a psychiatrist. And at the end is just a little 3 to 5 minute exercise on how you can have a better brain and a better life. And if you do this over the course of a year, and next year's leap year, which is why there's 366 exercises, your whole life will dramatically change in a positive way.
And Amen Clinics has the world's largest database of brain scans related to behavior. How has your brain imaging work changed your practice as a psychiatrist?
It's just literally changed everything I do. When I first started scanning people in 1991, I was looking for the one pattern that would go with depression or PTSD or obsessive compulsive disorder. And I soon discovered most psychiatric illnesses are not mental health issues at all. Rather, they are brain health issues that steal people's minds. And that one idea, it just changes everything. Because if we see your brain as an organ, well, if you want to think right, you have to eat right. If you want to think right, you have to avoid things like alcohol and marijuana and bad food and putting toxic products on your body. It just changed the whole ball game from you're depressed, take Prozac, to you're depressed, why? Let's get your brain healthy so your mood can be better.
Dr. Amen, I can talk to you all day. Sadly, we're out of time. But again, it's an honor to have you on Bloom. And I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Thank you, Gayle.
Absolutely. And up next, we're heading into the Bloom kitchen to whip up foods that will boost your brain. Bloom will be right back. You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, saving lives through early detection. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Call the tax man. Ooh, call the tax man. Call the tax man.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call me right now. The IRS is the most relentless collection agency in America. They have the power to legally take everything you own. Home, paycheck, autos, any asset you have. So what do? Call me now. My team of experts can help you keep your money. We have programs that can significantly reduce or eliminate what you owe, even payment plans that now stretch out for months. We can also stop collection calls, wage garnishments, and remove tax liens. So if you owe the IRS a lot of money and you want to keep it, don't wait. Call the tax man right now.
Call the tax man. Ooh, call the tax man. Call the tax man.
There is a direct link between your brain health and the foods we eat. Joining us now with Food Supporting Brain Power is registered dietitian and longevity nutritionist Ella Devar. Ella, welcome to Bloom. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you, Gayle. Likewise.
So, Ella, there are foods that we really should try to incorporate into our diet that can boost our brains.
Yeah, and most of those foods happen to be the same foods that support our heart and blood vessels. When it comes to brain supporting foods, my number one recommendation is omega-3 fatty acids, because our brain, up to 60% of our brain is made of fat, and half of that fat is made of omega-3 fatty acids. That's why it's essential to prevent the cognitive decline, to support the new brain and nerve cell development. And the best sources of omega-3 fatty acids is fish, namely salmon, trout, sardines, mackerel, anchovies, and herring.
And what's so interesting about this that I didn't know until you and I were chatting, you know, a lot of people don't eat a lot of fish because they're worried about mercury.
Yes.
You say if we reach for the smaller ones, which I am Italian, so I love some anchovies. You can even throw them on my pizza. So sardines and anchovies are good choices because of the mercury content or lack thereof.
Yes, I recommend eating seafood and fish at least twice a week and going with the smaller fatty fish because the smaller the fish, the less mercury it accumulates over its lifespan. And anchovies and wild-caught salmon are the best sources, including sardines that I forgot to mention.
So now, is there a way that you work these into recipes? Because if you asked me, Gayle, you know, pop this open, eat a couple anchovies right now, I'd have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't like it. Can you incorporate them into recipes where it's not so obvious?
Yeah, so they're awesome because they're so salty. They're awesome substitute of additional salt when we're using them in salad dressings or salad toppings or even like on a toast with an egg.
All right, that's good to know. All right, so what else should we be focused on?
When it comes to omega-3, those people who don't like omega-3s, they can substitute it with plant-based sources of omega-3s. Namely, those are avocados, walnuts, hemp seeds, flax seeds, and even chia seeds. And if you don't like any of them, you might benefit from supplementing it. Talk to your doctor, and as I brought here, these supplements, there's a hugely beneficial to support our brain.
Okay, good to know. And I didn't realize that avocados were a good source. I mean, I know they're a very healthy fat and easy to digest, but I didn't know that, you know, it's like an omega.
They're not as great as fish, but they still have some omega-3 to them.
Okay, all right. Now moving on to the berries.
No, okay, if you want, we'll go over the berries.
We'll go in your order. Go ahead.
Well, the number 2 nutrition recommendation with the top brain supporting foods are green leafy vegetables. They contain essential nutrients such as vitamin K, lutein, beta carotene, and folate, which help to prevent cognitive decline and help to support brain functioning. Vitamin K is a fat-soluble vitamin, and research shows how it's essential for our brain development. And 1 cup of broccoli contains almost 100% of vitamin K. That's why I recommend eating green leafy vegetables every day. And if you don't like broccoli, there's also kale, spinach, arugula, and Swiss chard.
Okay, and the K is important for what?
It's a fat-soluble vitamin, and it's very important for the fat tissue of our brain to be able to develop new brain cells.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
The next are colorful berries and fruits. The deeper the color, the more anthocyanins and antioxidant it has. You know, this pigment that's capable of staining our clothes. Basically, the more ability of the berry that has to stain our clothes, the better it is for our brain.
Oh, that's good to know. So there's the test. If you forget, you're like, which berry is going to stain my clothes the most? It's probably going to be the blueberry
or blackberry.
Or the blackberry,
yes.
And that's the one you should be eating for brain health.
These antioxidants that I named, they are anti-inflammatory and they're capable of improving our memory.
Okay, great.
I recommend sprinkling them over yogurt, cereal, adding them to your smoothie, or using them as a simple snack or dessert option.
Perfect. I love it. Speaking of desserts.
All right. Then my next, my favorite dessert when it comes to brain supporting foods is dark chocolate. Research shows that those who consume dark chocolate more frequently perform better when it comes to mental tasks, including memory, compared to those who eat it less frequently.
Now, how dark a chocolate are you eating? Like, 75, 85?
Anything above 65 and 70 is higher on those antioxidants, flavonoids, and the small amount of caffeine is actually a legitimate mood booster because it's capable of boosting the neurotransmitters such as dopamine.
Oh, and you also said it's important to eat seasonal foods, and pomegranates are not in season right now, so you brought the juice.
Yeah, so I saw some research that shows that people who have problems with memory and cognitive issues, they were studied and they were given the pomegranate juice, and it showed some improvement over the time, but it helped with verbal and visual memory.
Gosh, it's amazing. And a lot of us don't even think about the link between the two. But Ella, I appreciate you coming on and explaining all of this to us.
There's one more thing, the superfoods that we missed.
Oh, we are really, well, we're going to put those online, and you're going to find this story on WFLA.com. And when we come back, we'll talk about how traumatic brain injury can alter your mind when Bloom returns. You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, saving lives through early detection. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today. A traumatic brain injury affects your brain function. Now, effects are usually temporary, but can lead to headaches and problems with concentration, memory, balance, and coordination. Joining us now from USF Health Concussion Center is Assistant Professor Dr. Dusty Narducci. Dr. Narducci, welcome to Bloom.
Thank you for having me, Gayle.
So there's been such a spotlight on concussions and traumatic brain injury and the impact of the brain's health really in the long term. But can we start by just explaining what is a concussion?
It's a great question. We don't have the exact answer yet. A lot of our studies have been done on animals, not on humans. But we do know, in the simplest form I can put it in, is that it's a force to the brain that causes a change in function. So it's a big, complex change in brain metabolism, cerebral vascular flow, a bunch of different things like that. And it can cause a bunch of symptoms.
Yeah, and we just touched on some of the symptoms, at the start of this segment, but what do people experience after a concussion?
I think most of us hear about headaches, but there's so many more than that. Everything from cognition, so changes in memory, like difficulty with word finding, sleep changes. There's also emotional changes, so people might feel more irritable, sad, anxious, things like that. Yes, the headaches, and there's also visual and vestibular symptoms, so balance changes, proprioception, sensitivity to light, reading, tracking, driving, all of those. And then nauseousness, dizziness, all of those.
Yeah, and from movies on the big screen to documentaries, we are learning more about concussions and the role sports plays in them. And that's changed to a switch in protocol, even down to headgear. What are your thoughts on that?
So headgear, headbands, even helmets do not prevent concussions. And that is something that I always want parents to know, caregivers, athletes, coaches. Helmets were developed to prevent, facial injuries, dental injuries, skull fractures. So sometimes it could be a false sense of security. Even if the technology is really high tech and super cool, it still doesn't prevent concussions. And I think you already touched on it. Educating individuals on what a symptom is for a concussion, that's the best prevention we can get. Taking them out of the sport, if they need to at that moment. Really educating the athletic trainers and the physicians and everybody else part of the medical team. I love that we've changed a lot of rules, especially for football. Even cheerleading, like we changed the pyramid height, things like that. And youth hockey, we no longer do checking. Things like that all prevent concussions. So that's the stuff I really want to educate people on.
Very interesting. What about technology? Because I brought my daughter to USF Health, and they were like, it would have been great if she had had a screening prior to her concussion. We didn't know that at the time. Again, this was like 7 years ago. But what about technology and screening protocols?
We're seeing a lot of advancements in this, and I think that's definitely the way research is going. So something called a baseline test, for example. There's something called a neurocognitive test. A lot of these are computerized, and they look at all forms of memory, attention, speed of memory, visual, verbal, executive function. And what they do is you sit in front of a computer, you take this test. You can take it before you're concussed, so we do it in a lot of our athletes, almost all of our athletes at the collegiate level. And then they have a baseline. And then if they get injured, we redo this test and we can see the difference. And that is not the only thing that diagnoses a concussion. It's part of it. And I use it as my assessment, and then my clinical judgment decides do they have a concussion or not. So that's fantastic. There's a lot of other modalities that we can do on the field or on the court or whatever sport they're playing. Something called a SCAT-5. So that basically looks at memory, balance, adds like symptom scores and gives you a total, and that can also be used to kind of decide in that acute setting whether or not they have a concussion.
All very interesting stuff, and I have to tell you, coming to your center at USF, it was really amazing to see all the work and collaboration. I know there's a big, long road ahead, when it comes to the world of concussion, but it's great that we have you right here in our backyard, so thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And when we come back, cookbook author and culinary adventure travel expert Gina Ferwerda is joining us in the Bloom Kitchen with more brain-healthy recipes. So don't go away. Bloom will be right back.
Have you ever felt leg pain, restlessness, cramps, tingling, swelling, numbness, itchiness, or coldness? Then you need the new, clinically proven Legzercise Pro, the natural circulation booster that uses continuous automatic leg movement to soothe pain and promote healthy circulation the natural drug-free way.
After using Legzercise for a week, I felt like I wanted to go for a walk again without pain like I used to.
Legzercise Pro's patented walking simulator propulsion technology moves your feet back and forth along its concave track, creating constant movement and flex at both the knee and ankle joints. It's like having a physical therapist right in your own home.
It's helped with the swelling and the pain. The tingling feeling is gone.
Call right now and order your very own Legzercise Pro, the clinically proven automatic leg mover that soothes pain and naturally promotes healthy circulation. Call now.
We are back cooking up more brain healthy foods with our friend, cookbook author and culinary adventure travel expert, who is the author of Meals from the Mitten, Gina Ferwerda. Gina, it is so great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Yes, I love winters in Michigan because that means Gina's in the Florida area and we get to see her. So we're talking about brain healthy foods today, and you are clearly showing that does not have to be a boring lineup.
Absolutely not. I think we should get all of these extra omega-3 fatty acids that we need in our diet, and there are so many things that we could do. So I like to do a salmon salad. Salmon is one of our best picks for omega-3 fatty acids. Our bodies don't make omega-3 fatty acids. We have to get them from food or supplement. And I always say get them from your food because that's just the most natural way. Salmon is going to be your best. Now, the salmon salad, I do a power bowl. And the reason I do this is when I put out a salad before a dinner, especially my husband, he'll go straight for the dinner and be like, I don't need the salad.
It's so true.
But actually the green leafy vegetables and green leaves are so good for us. So if I throw them at the bottom of a power bowl, all of the good stuff goes down to the bottom and he'll eat it. So
perfect. I like it. That's a good strategy,
I know.
Gina.
We're going to start with the dressing.
Okay.
So this is going to be full of spinach. Now spinach, it doesn't add a lot of flavor with this, but boy, it helps make it green. And what we're doing is we're kind of sneaking in some of that spinach into the dressing, and you don't even realize it. And then dill and also some chives. This is going to be a dill and Dijon and lemon dressing.
Smells
good.
so good.
Yes. I do a little dill sauce on top of the fresh dill. It really pronounces that extra dill.
And that's what that was,
That's
dill
what
sauce?
that was, yes.
Okay.
And it really helps bring out that, and dill and salmon are like best friends.
They are. Where do you find dill sauce?
Just at any store.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
And if you can't find it, just use some pickle juice.
Okay,
It's going to have the
perfect.
same thing. Yeah. So Greek yogurt, very, very good. Fermented foods. We know that gut health and brain health all go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So if we get those fermented foods, all those active cultures in our yogurt, really helps. We have, of course, our Dijon mustard. I like to do my olive oil. Are you olive oil or EVOO?
Huge. I love olive oil.
Both are really good. So you choose what you want.
Okay.
A little bit of seasoning, a little bit of salt and pepper. This is going to be rice wine vinegar. Now, I do the rice wine vinegar because it adds just a little bit of sweetness. So instead of a regular vinegar.
That's great.
And then the lemon I'm going to do in here is going to be the pulp and the juice of one Meyer lemon. Now a Meyer lemon's just gonna be half of a lemon and kind of half of mandarin orange, so it just adds a nice little sweetness but not too tart. Of course, we have to have our good garlic. And also, I like to do our 1 whole avocado.
Okay.
So just throw that in there, creamy, all of that. Pretend we blended that up.
All right. And it looks like?
Yes, and it looks exactly like this.
Man.
This dressing can go on anything, like shrimp, chicken, steak, you name it. This is a great dressing.
Then I wish you could smell it. It smells so good. It's like putting me in a mood for the bowl.
Yes, it's so good. So we're going to save just about a 1/4 cup of that dressing because we're
Okay.
going to put that on our salmon.
All right.
So, and then we're going to bake that. So let's go ahead with our salmon. Are you a skin on or skin off girl, Gayle?
Skin on.
Skin on.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a great thing because whether you like skin on or skin off, skin has the vitamin D in it. So that's actually an added benefit if you like your skin on. So I'm going to do some salmon patties. We're going to do some chickpeas. Now chickpeas are high in magnesium. Magnesium is really good, helps with our blood vessels. And so once our blood vessels are relaxed, more blood gets to our brain, so that's good. Of course, broccoli, one of the best things for cognitive health and memory. So if you love broccoli, add that. If you don't like broccoli, do another cruciferous vegetable, maybe like Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
That's another good thing. And asparagus. Asparagus is one of the most nutrient-dense vegetables out there. As much as you can get asparagus into your diet, I say
It's a
I
beautiful
recommend
thing.
it. Really is,
Okay.
yes. Lots of vitamin K and folate. With that, we're going to do some olive oil all over this, and of course some seasoning. This right here is a cherry wood smoked sea salt. I add that. Any type of smoked sea salt on salmon is good just because it's going to add like it went into the smoker, but it didn't.
Nice, okay.
Yes. Now that great
And you just kind of
yogurt.
base that on top.
Yes, yep. So we're just going to throw that over along with some crushed walnuts. Walnuts are the king of nuts when you are looking at brain health, omega-3 fatty acids.
Man, that looks amazing.
So this is going to go in the
All right.
oven, 400 degrees, and we have one done already. Now it depends on how you like it. If you like it medium rare, go about 12 minutes.
Okay.
What you're looking for is you want to take your trusty little thermometer, and you're just going to go in with that and just kind of see if that is 125 degrees. That's going to be medium rare.
And you're able to cook it all together
All
like that.
together,
That's
so
beautiful.
easy. One sheet pan. And then if you want to go, you could go up to 15 or 18 minutes if you like your salmon cooked a little bit more well done.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to build the salad now. So of course our green leafy salad greens are wonderful. And then quinoa. I love to add the whole power bowl because you need the carbs,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Quinoa is high in an essential amino acid that our body needs, and that is lysine. And they've shown, research has shown with lysine, people that are low in that, they basically have more anxiety, more stress. So
Okay.
we really need to make sure
Boost that up.
Boost that up. Berries, whether you're going to do strawberries or blueberries, great berries in your salad. Blueberries, they are flavonoids and so good with that, so great with memory. Of course, I like a little bit of your tomatoes, some red onion, and then also some cabbage. I love to see the whole rainbow color
Come together.
Yes, yes.
And unfortunately, I'm hearing in my ear that we're running out of time, and this
All
looks
right.
so good.
Yeah, so
all
just
you're
going to add
do-
all the rest and the dressing.
That's perfect. That's great. And then you also just quick coffees, teas, a little bit of
Coffee.
walnuts, good for your brain
Yes,
health.
yes, and dark
All right,
chocolate.
Gina, it's been so great seeing you. I
Oh,
really
so great.
appreciate you coming in studio, and we're going to share this story with you online and the recipes. And when we come back, the importance of a good night's sleep for your brain health when Bloom returns. You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging. We begin where your checkup ends. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today. Some 50 million Americans suffer from a sleep disorder, but sleep, both the quantity and quality, is crucial to our brain health. Joining us now is podcaster and psychologist Dr. Daniel Bond. It's great to see you, Dr. Bond.
Thank you, Gayle. You too. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, we all long for a good night's rest, but a lot of people don't realize the correlation between sleep and our brain health.
Absolutely. We know there's a really strong connection between your brain kind of functioning in the best way that it can and you getting the optimal amount of sleep, which really is more of a range for a lot of people. So sometimes we might sleep too little, which would be something like less than 6 hours or so a night, or sleeping too much, which could be 9 or plus more hours. We really want that sweet spot, which is really something between that 7 to 8-ish range. And we'll talk more about the quality of sleep and why that matters too.
Yeah, that is so important. Let's talk about, you touched on sleep deprivation, getting under 6 hours of sleep on a consistent basis. Is it true that you can have permanent brain damage from lack of sleep?
Great question. And I would say, the jury's still out a little bit in terms of how permanent some of this stuff is. But I would say the preliminary research is that, yes, it does have an impact on some things and can absolutely make you kind of be at increased risk for certain types of cognitive challenges later in life too. So I would say we're still trying to research more of this, but I would say the more we can get you to a healthier spot with your sleep, the better overall.
Yeah, and I know the jury's probably still out about how much these sleep trackers, be it our watches or our rings, play in our overall, being able to monitor in our health. I do wear two. I've become obsessed with sleep because I went so many years without getting any, and now I'm like looking at the difference between my REM sleep, my deep sleep, how much I'm getting, what impacts it, it has. And despite how accurate these devices might be, they do make you think about it. And they do show you, like, if you have some wine before bed, your heart rate's up, your resting heart rate is up, you're not getting the deep sleep you typically would get. So at least they get you thinking about it.
They do. So I would say, devices are an interesting thing, right? Because this whole area is just exploding with new things and, new devices, whether it's watches or rings or those types of things. And I would say, from a sleep perspective, any data is helpful. But what I would say is the cautious part about this is a lot of these devices, including the watches and the rings, they use algorithms to really kind of impute what we think is actually happening in your brain. Because ultimately what we're really interested in are actually brainwave activity when we're talking about sleep. And so sometimes the accuracy of these devices can be as high as 70–80%, but there's still a pretty large margin of error there between if your app says that you're getting REM sleep, you may not actually be getting the exact type of sleep that you think you're getting. So, yeah.
So how do you know if you're getting the exact amount of sleep that you need, and what should we strive for?
Absolutely. Well, I would say the number one thing you want to strive for is not, did I get a good night's rest last night, but in general, am I working towards being a better sleeper overall? And what I mean by that is really helping you to develop the right habits to get you into that period of time where you can kind of essentially roll with the punches with your sleep, because even healthy sleepers, we occasionally have, disrupted sleep. We might occasionally get up early for work, or maybe you travel, or something happens. So the more that you can be able to be more flexible with your sleep, the better off you can be. And there's some specific things we can chat about with that too. So,
what about, I know you work with a lot of students, what about these medications that stimulate their brains, stimulate their bodies, and really make it hard for them to sleep?
Absolutely. I would say in medications, especially when it relates to anything that's kind of keeping your mental focus really strong, they have a really counterintuitive impact on your brain when you're trying to fall asleep. So I would say those are medications that you want to, the students who are listening to this might not like this, but when you're trying to do an all-nighter, these are medications we're going to encourage you to not necessarily do, mainly because they may really impact your ability to fall asleep later that night. So really you want to try your hardest to make sure any substances or any kind of medications are really out of your system roughly about 4 to 6 hours before you're even thinking about going to bed.
Yeah.
So the more,
Yeah, a lot of parents worry about this. I mean, I know my 17-year-old, she's such an academic overachiever, but she doesn't get enough sleep, and nothing I can say to her will drive home the importance of getting sleep. All she cares about is the end goal of those grades and achieving, and that, as a parent, it's hard to find that healthy balance.
It is. I would say it's really hard, for lots of reasons, right? We live in a world right now that has lots of devices and lots of, alerts and dings and those types of things. But I would say, from a parent perspective, in terms of wanting to help your child learn the most and retain the most, ideally what you want to do is, this is kind of a quick tip for those students that are out there, ideally you want to take a nap before you're getting ready to learn new content, and then you want to spend your time studying, and then if you can actually take another quick nap, now again no more than like 20 minutes or 25 minutes or so, really what you're trying to do is you're trying to consolidate the new learning that's happened, because the way memory works is that it functions in two parts. There's how you learn something, and then there's how you recall it later. And both of those things are susceptible to different parts of sleep. So meaning that if you can get the best night's rest while you go into an exam or go into a really big project, you're going to do far better than if you pull an all-nighter and studied the whole night.
Dr. Bond, always so interesting. Every time I think I can't learn more about sleep, I learn more about sleep.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much. You are going to find this story on our website. And before we go to break, it is time for today's Bloom Trivia question. What percentage of people dream entirely in black and white? 12%, 20%, or 25%? We'll have the answer later in the show.
Do you listen to the TV on high volume or have trouble hearing conversations? Then you would benefit from hearing aids. Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get Nano's revolutionary technology just $347. Don't be fooled by higher-priced hearing aids. The CIC Recharge is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology, many customers say is superior to more expensive models. Call now and get not one, but 2 Nano hearing aids for just $347. Plus, we'll add a portable charging dock and ship your order absolutely free. The CIC Recharge has a tiny in-the-ear canal design that is nearly invisible. Why keep missing out on important conversations or waste thousands of dollars? Call and get 2 CIC Recharge hearing aids for only $347 and free shipping. Call now.
800-854-2435. Again, that's 800-854-2435.
Neuroscience and building cognitive skills in your kids can make all the difference in their education and their success. Joining us now to discuss is Betsy Hill, the co-author of the new book, Your Child Learns Differently. Now what? Welcome to Bloom, Betsy.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
It's great to have you. So let's talk about the state of our education system and our kids right now, because we really went through it during the COVID years and there's a lot of catch up going on.
You know, well, hopefully there's going to be some catch-up going on. That probably remains to be seen. But, you know, the education system in the U.S. has its really great challenges right now. Only about 35% of fourth graders are reading proficiently at fourth grade level. So the majority of kids in the U.S. are not performing at that level. And it got worse during the pandemic. And what we heard from all the parents that we talked to is that suddenly they were confronted with their kids at home trying to learn remotely, and they saw them really struggling, and it was a surprise to many of them.
So doing the math real quick in my head, it seems like about 70% of kids are not performing at grade level.
That's correct.
That's a lot of kids. So you talk a lot about cognitive skills. What does that mean?
So cognitive skills are how we learn. We talk in school a lot about what we learn. We have to learn to read, we have to learn to do math, social studies, and all that. But we don't always talk about how kids learn. And cognitive skills are the ways that information gets into our brains from the outside world and how we start the learning process. So it's things like attention. Most parents are familiar with focus and attention and bemoaning the fact that maybe their kids aren't as good at that as maybe they might be. But other kinds of visual processing, auditory processing, the way it's processing speed, how quickly we can assimilate information and deal with it. So there are lots and lots of cognitive skills that all have to work together for our brains to actually take in and process and store and learn information.
So you say that we're focusing a lot on teaching, but not a lot on learning.
Right. So and a lot of that has to do with tradition and what's been going on in education for so many years, which is teachers know how to teach. They know their material. They know how to present information. But they don't always know how the learning process happens, and especially for kids who learn differently. And most kids actually do. And so, we're reaching 30% of kids because they learn the way that it's coming at them. But there are so many kids that aren't getting it the way it's coming at them because they learn differently. They might be more visual in terms of their memory. It might be that they have difficulty with working memory and how they hold information in their minds. But all of these things combine to make learning really challenging sometimes.
So talk to me about your book, Your Child Learns Differently, Now What? What's the takeaway?
So the takeaway is that if you're not addressing underlying cognitive skills and your child is struggling with learning, nothing's going to change. So the education system in general is not equipped and isn't doing much to help you. And so if you want your child to be successful and to be able to learn and to be able to achieve what you and they hope for them, then understanding these cognitive skills, understanding how your child learns, and then realizing that you can actually increase and build these skills. So there's this misconception that is pretty pervasive about intelligence. We tend to think that intelligence is fixed. Oh, this person's smart, you're smart, I'm dumb. My friend is smart, and we come into the world with all of the cognitive ability that we're ever going to have, but that's not the case. And what we know now from neuroscience is that we can improve these skills in a pretty short period of time, within a few months, actually.
That's incredible. That's going to be very promising for parents watching. So we have just seconds left, but your book, you say, is from 4 up?
Yeah, well, we'll help play to parents,
right,
of any age, but really ages 6 and up are who we work the most with.
All right. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, same here.
All right.
Thank you.
We're going to put more information on our website, and when we come back, we'll find out all the details about a big event happening in Tampa when Bloom returns. Welcome back to Bloom. As we explore brain health, there is no doubt children learn differently, and a Tampa school specializes in educating kids with exceptionalities. Joining us now from Tampa Pinnacle Academy are Ashley Marchetti and Marissa Sanders. Welcome to Bloom, ladies. It's good to see you both.
Thank you for having us.
So, Marissa, let's start with you. Let's talk about the way children learn at Pinnacle.
Sure. We service kids kindergarten through 8th grade with unique learning needs. They need a smaller class size, more hands-on learning, really a specialized and customized approach to their education. Our goal is to fill in any academic gaps while pushing any strengths that they have, and we can really do that through the small classes, and then we use zone-based learning. So we put kids in groups even further than their small classes to meet them on their level depending on the subject area.
And Ashley, from a parent's perspective, because I remember growing up and I definitely had learning disabilities, but everyone had to learn the same way when I was a child. It's different now, and there are places that you can go. From a parent's perspective, how has it changed?
Oh, it's incredible. Tampa Pinnacle Academy has given our daughter the opportunity to grow in the way that she needs to learn, to be in an environment that is going to play to her strengths and encourage her, and it's nurturing, and then she has a safe environment where she can learn not just academically but social behaviors and learning those social cues and just how to navigate life. Really, she's learned so much more. I often say Pinnacle has been so much more than just an academic learning place for her. It's really given her a home. It's given our family a community. It's so much more than just a school for us.
Now, I know that Pinnacle is a relatively small school. There's a campus in the Manatee County area, if I'm not mistaken, and a small campus here in the Tampa area. But for parents that might not have access to your school, what should they be thinking about if their children don't learn the same as others?
There's a variety of schools out there that can meet those needs. I also think there's additional services. There's speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, outside tutoring. We provide Orton Gillingham as a curriculum, but there's Orton Gillingham tutors too available. I think it's about finding the right fit for your child. Not every school meets every child's needs, and Pinnacle won't meet every child's needs, but making sure that your child is being supported academically, socially, and emotionally is really important.
All right, you guys have a really fun event coming up. If you want to step back into the 80s, the Totally 80s Prom Gala is happening. Tell me about the big event coming up.
That's right. We are so excited for this event. It's our annual fundraiser, and it's an opportunity to just go out into the community and share about this amazing school and love on our staff and just celebrate our kids because they deserve celebrating. They work so hard and they're amazing, and so we're just going to celebrate.
I've attended in the past. It's a great event. And celebrating the teachers, I think, is really special because a lot of times they don't get the accolades that they need and they don't get the credit that they deserve for all the work that they do.
That's right. And we are going to make them the official prom court of our prom this year. And we are just going to love on them, and they're going to feel all the support because they have the hardest job in the world. And we're just going to love on them, including you. We're excited.
It'll be great. Are you ready for all the love?
We are. We're excited. And we want our community, the special needs community, to just embrace this event as well as the community, to just come together
and just have a good time together. Right?
I think that's wonderful.
Prom.
Well, thank you guys for coming on Bloom and
Thank
sharing the
you.
big news with us. Marissa, Ashley, we're going to put all the information that you need to know on our website. And don't forget, we'll have the answer to today's Bloom trivia question coming up later in the show.
Attention cancer victims who use the weed killer Roundup. A federal jury unanimously found that Monsanto's popular weed killer Roundup was a substantial factor in causing cancer. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you or someone you love used Roundup and were diagnosed with cancer, call the number on your screen now. Don't wait. There may be time deadlines to file a claim.
Call 800-925-8035. That's 800-925-8035.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Call the tax man. Ooh, call the tax man. Call the tax man.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call me right now. The IRS is the most relentless collection agency in America. They have the power to legally take everything you own. Home, paycheck, autos, any asset you have. So what do? Call me now. My team of experts can help you keep your money. We have programs that can significantly reduce or eliminate what you owe, even payment plans that now stretch out for months. We can also stop collection calls, wage garnishments, and remove tax liens. So if you owe the IRS a lot of money and you want to keep it, don't wait. Call the tax man right now.
Call the tax man. Ooh, call the tax man. Call the tax man.
And now it's time for today's Bloom trivia question. What percentage of people dream entirely in black and white? 12%, 20%, or 25%? The answer is 12% of people dream entirely in black and white. According to the New Scientist, studies from 1915 through the 1950s suggested that the vast majority of dreams were in black and white, but the tides turned in the 60s, and later results suggested that up to 83% of dreams contain at least some color. Thank you so much for tuning into Bloom today. Don't forget to follow Bloom on social media. We are on all major platforms. And follow our Bloom bonus podcast to listen. Just search Your Story, Your Health, Your Best Life on all podcast platforms. And we hope you'll tune in again on the next Bloom presented by Lifeguard Imaging. We're focusing on eco-friendly living, from sustainable clothing to organic foods. And our favorite planet protector, Paige Conjure-Henry, is bringing animals from the Tarpon Springs Aquarium to our show to show us and teach our kids to appreciate nature by making it fun. And for Black History Month, Daytime's Fair and Hip takes us on a bike tour of some of St. Petersburg's historical sites that are rich in Black history. So stay healthy, everyone, and I will see you on the next Bloom. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today.